Hi, good evening. I'm Christy Boudreau, Chair of the Hatfield School Committee, and welcome to our December business meeting. It's Monday, December 15th. And we're going to jump in and offer up public comment. Is there anyone joining us online for public comment this evening? And there's no one with us in person. It is possible for the committee to make a public statement and public comment. Would anybody like to make a public comment?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
I think we can kill this one.
I would just like to update everybody on news from the collaborative. We are meeting tomorrow with our search agent who is from AESA. He's flying in from Texas, and we will be reviewing the applicants. The applications were live for the month of November. Initially, we had 44 applications started. 3 withdrew, 23 were incomplete, and we ended up with 19 completed applications, which is still a very decent number. And we will go through those 19 tomorrow to determine who will make the first round interviews, which are happening January 7th and 8th. Final interviews will be January 14th, where we will make a decision and negotiate a contract with the new executive director. And January 28th, at our board meeting, we will officially make the hire. So that's where the search process is.
That's awesome. And for anyone who's tuning in wondering why you're giving an update, Kathy actually chairs the Collaborative Educational Services Board, which is really a grand thing to do. Thank you for your service. You represent Hatfield and you chair that board.
Yes.
So.
And there are 37 member districts. So potentially, if we had everyone present for a meeting, it would be 37 members in a meeting, which is like corralling.
It's a big meeting.
Corralling cats, you know.
I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah, well, I did.
Not gonna say
So, okay.
that. Awesome.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
And so we're going to move on to mission moments, given that there were no other people for public comment. So thank you for that update.
Yep. We had two, just kind of recapping, I had this in my newsletter as well, but we had 2 fifth graders approach me asking if they could do a food drive for the month of December, understanding that there's definitely a need in the communities. So they organized and orchestrated that food drive, and we heard from the representative from the Western Mass Food Bank that we had donated 279 pounds of 133 meals to needy families. So kudos to the 2 fifth grade girls who orchestrated that, and to the community members who participated.
That's awesome. Thanks to the Academy also had a food drive of late, yeah?
We did, yeah. Can I do 2 mission moments? I'll be quick, I promise.
You can do 3 mission moments.
All right. So the first is similar to the food drive at HES. We had our, I think it was our Zoo Crew X Block ran a like a Spirit Week competition, which culminated today. Congratulations to Miss Petra, not this Miss Petra, but our teacher, Miss Petra's advisory who won. It included a food drive. And they raised over 500 pounds of food that they donated.
Wow.
I thought I saw online that was the biggest single donation.
I think so.
Was it?
I think it was the Western Mass Food Bank.
Yeah, that they had received. I was impressed.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
But it also included things like different dress-up days and a door decorating competition for holiday films that was judged today. Die Hard was the holiday film theme, which won the door decorating competition. Classic holiday.
Yeah.
The other mission moment I wanted to just highlight was the art and the music show that we had last week at Smith Academy, which was absolutely fantastic. It was really well attended, not just by artists and musicians and their families, but by the general community as well. And they sounded fantastic. They did middle school and high school played combined, and then the high school played their set as well. And it was great. We heard everything from sleigh ride to the Jurassic Park theme to what was I'm drawing a blank now. There was it was like an '80s classic
Mhm.
song that was fantastic. So it was great, and the art was out of this world. There was a lot of people appreciating not just the kind of the 2D art, but some of the 3D works that were done. There was a glass blowing exhibit that the students had gone to do at a local artist shop, as well as um, some stained glass work that they've been doing at Smith Academy too. It was fantastic.
That's
There was a line for
Awesome.
that table
There
the
was
entire
the whole
time.
time. It was
You
great.
had to elbow people out of the way.
Carefully,
cool.
so you didn't break
Careful,
the
yeah.
ornaments.
In front of the glass.
Yeah.
I saw like video of the glass blowing. It was awesome.
Yeah, really neat.
Other mission moments. I have one, and I'm gonna. It's kind of a bittersweet mission moment, and I decided to share this. Maybe perhaps because some of our recent press coverage about the size of our district, and some questions that are coming from our local select board about the size of our staff. And so I was pulling together some information to give to the select board. And while I guess anticipated staffing cuts are never going to be a mission moment, and we're going to talk more about that when we get to the financial update this evening, I could not help but be really just blown away by what we actually offer at Smith Academy when it comes down to just we're a little bitty school in a little bitty district. But even after what might need to be trimmed, I was just really wowed by the fact that with fewer than 20 teachers, Smith Academy has 70 different course offerings. They're teaching 94 classes. It includes 9 AP and concurrent enrollment offerings. And on top of that, there are 27 clubs and academic support offerings. Like, and they're really wide ranging. They cater from everything like what I assume is the sereneness of fly fishing
Very serene.
to what I assume is probably a fairly raucous rock band. And it's sort of like everything in between, including Mr. Garrett teaching cooking, which I really hope I get invited to see someday because I would like to see the cooking class. But it just dawns on me that with all that offering, the only way that that happens is because we have a really exceptional teaching team who's clearly committed to the success of their students. And it's evidenced by just what they choose to offer and the sheer scope and variety, because it means that those teachers are prepping for all of those different classes. Because if you look at like 70 courses across 19 teachers, they're teaching a lot of different stuff. And the commitment that it takes to make that work, and the fact that all but 2 of them sponsor at least one club, and several of them more. And our dean of students sponsors clubs, our superintendent sponsors clubs, our principal of the elementary school sponsors clubs. Everyone steps up. I don't totally get how you schedule that puzzle, but my hat is off to you and your teaching team.
They do a great job.
Good job. So we may be small, but we're packing a lot in. And I thought that was worth just calling out since we had pulled the numbers together. So we did also have a student representative report, and I'm excited to see those come in. And I will say, we'll shout out that I hope that their efforts on Jolly Ball with Mr. Tran are highly successful.
I'm
So
looking forward to that.
we'll hear how that goes. With that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Driscoll for a district report.
Sure. So everyone has the write-up, so I can just highlight a few things here. One thing that didn't make it into the report, I realized after I had written and submitted it, was the progress on the boilers in roof project.
Just preempted you right there.
Yep.
I was ready.
The
Fine.
boiler, it's out to the boiler project is out to bid. The estimates came back really significantly lower than the initial estimate, which was
What?
kind of mind blowing. So those are out to bid. We have a walkthrough scheduled at the elementary school tomorrow or Wednesday.
They've already come.
They were here.
Oh.
early.
They've already been here.
Sorry,
There were like 15 or 20 gentlemen that came through.
I'm a week behind.
That's okay.
So they had the walkthrough, and
Mhm.
it's currently out to bid, and we're expecting to be able to review those bids soon, which will be great.
Did the bid that came in include price for updating the control systems?
I believe it was everything.
Comprehensive.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because that was in the original package. So
It was, but
Yep.
my concern when I saw how low the number was, or I heard how low the
Yeah.
number was, I was like, maybe it's not.
And
Yeah.
when are we
including that.
hoping that it would get done?
they're still hoping for a winter time. They can knock one of the boilers offline, plug that new one in. I'd say it very simply. Plug the new one in. Have it up and running. Take the other one off, and then plug that new one in too.
Just, yeah, we're in cold weather.
We sure
is.
A little
are.
extra early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say how much under budget it came in, or do we not
Look,
want to?
I think we should wait until we actually see it come in and be done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Personally,
I'd
before someone starts to like
Yeah.
dream of those funds.
Yeah, I'd be more. I'll be more ready to share that once the actual bids come in.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
if it were to come in under bid and we were able to do it much cheaper, the funds that were allocated for it and we didn't use don't come to the school budget. They
Right.
go back to town. And in fact, this case, if it was a borrowing, we just would
We just
need to
borrow
borrow
less.
less.
Yeah.
So it's all good, but we don't see any, just in case someone thought we might see something, that wouldn't come to us. And if it was not a borrowing situation, then that money would go back eventually into free cash.
Just a follow-up on this. I know there was like a HVAC thing that happened, but that had to happen while school was closed.
Yeah, so they haven't done that part yet.
Correct.
There was like
They
a,
can't, okay, so
They have
they're
to get
gonna
in-
do it over winter break.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
They have to go into the ceiling and actually tear all the plumbing pieces apart because it's
Right.
like an elbow joint thing that's going to be making a huge mess because it's so clogged.
Got it. But the boiler project will be able to happen while school is in session.
yes,
Yes.
correct.
Because there's two boilers.
Right.
Right. Take
And they
them
are
out,
both
plug the
working.
next one in.
Just don't know
Excellent.
how long. Right. I know. Knock on wood.
I did.
Okay, a couple other updates here. We are at Smith Academy finally fully staffed. We just hired Joe Gentile as an ESP, and he's been wonderful. Let's see, the door projects at the elementary school. I had heard from the contractor, talked with them last week. He said that it will. He's hoping that he can get a crew here to do it over the winter break, which is 2 weeks. And but at the their end, he guaranteed that it will be finished by the end of January. So that's where we're holding the contractor to.
And if not, you're going to release the contractor's phone number to me and Melissa and Adam and let us all start calling.
Sure.
I think everyone's anxious to get
Yeah,
this
no, we
door
want
in.
that done. We want that done for a couple of reasons. It just needs to get done. But B, once that work is done, then we can work to put in for the aftercare, put in an electronic buzzing system that they can have, so they can see remotely who's at the door, which will just make that whole process more
That's awesome.
secure. And so we're ready to go on that. We don't want to do it obviously right now with the doors that are about to get
Yeah.
replaced. Over the next couple of weeks, well, actually the 2 days in the first part of the break, we are finishing up the carpet job at Smith Academy, the front office, and the guidance counselor's office are getting done. We had originally forgot the guidance counselor's office on the first run through, but we have enough left over that we can do it there. So she won't have the lone green shag carpet still. Not shag, just bright green carpet still. We had a snow day. We've had one so far, so now that bumps the last day to June 17th. Let's see.
I appreciate you putting that in there. Because people
As
always,
much for my own,
yeah, it's
for my,
good to keep it.
yeah.
Can we find a spot that seems intuitive to also add a running tally on the website so people could
Yeah.
look that up?
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely.
Because that, once we get to the summer, everyone's just sort of
Yeah, everyone
becomes a
forgets.
thing.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think that's everything I wanted to highlight from here, unless there are questions that we have.
You mentioned one departure at HES.
Yeah, there's actually two.
Oh, okay.
Two ESPs.
Are we okay?
We are posting for those to replace both of them.
When do they depart?
Friday was our last day.
For both?
Yes.
And one took a teaching position.
Yes.
The
Yes.
other left for personal reasons.
And we will have some band students at the Luminarium.
Yeah, they'll have
On
band students
Saturday.
there, and we are trying to get some I guess not so super secret anymore, but some super secret holiday singers in the crowd to try to sing loudly and encourage others
Nice.
around them to sing. So we'll call it some plants, I guess, is what they are.
Mhm.
So we're seeking those out too. Slowly, we're getting them to trickle into the office to volunteer.
Do you have a sports update for us?
I do, sure. Yep. So the sports, I was actually just at the JV game that was going on. The varsity game just started for boys tonight. We have 6 basketball teams this winter, which is fantastic. So we have varsity, boys and girls varsity, JV, boys and girls, and middle school, boys and girls. So some of the players float from middle school to JV and from JV to varsity. But we're able to field six teams with our relatively small student population, which is great. A lot of student interest, and a lot of energy there, which is wonderful.
Good.
Girls played at the Mullins Center on Saturday, so that was pretty neat.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't actually, unfortunately, I didn't get to go to that, but I heard it was a great time.
Being able to play
Yeah.
there would be really fun. Awesome. Questions before we move on? Ms. Petra?
John Halpin, our food director, and Jean Hobby, our nurse, apply for the Mass Fresh grant every year. We were unsuccessful in getting that. That's the grant that we utilize to get funds to bring in Prospect Meadow. They came in weekly last year to do food tasting for students, but Prospect Meadow enjoyed the relationship that they had with our school, that they have actually donated to do a taste testing once a month. So we've had one so far. We're hoping to do another one this week. We had a half day on December 5th. So we had teachers engaged in various professional development opportunities, had brought back the restorative justice and practice work with the presenter that we had brought in on November 10th. We did some work with neurodiverse learners, iReady, and then self-directed curriculum. And then we conducted an organic lockdown drill on December 9th. That's where it started in the school. A teacher actually calls the drill, and then it proceeds to spread throughout the building, just in case that was ever a need.
How'd that go?
It actually went really well. It's interesting. It doesn't get all the way to the second floor, but ideally what we want happening is if someone hears it to then call the office, and then the office then would reiterate. But the person who started the drill did an amazing job, and the state police and local police said it was very loud and could be heard throughout because everybody then spread it through, from door to door. So worked out very well.
Questions from the committee? Dr. Asks.
So one of the things that we've been working on recently is looking at our STAR program at HES, and really kind of we want to actually develop a new program description with entrance and exit criteria for it. And now that we have a full-time BCBA this year, I want that person to be more involved in working with the program and developing strategies and really doing fidelity checks relevant to behavior plans and making sure that plans are actually being followed. So I've been working on a new description for the program with the entrance and exit criteria and forms that would actually support that process. And I'm hoping within really the next couple of weeks after we get back to have that finalized with the staff. One of the other things that we've been looking at is how we promote ABA types of services and supports to students internally. And a couple different things that some of the staff have been doing. The school psychologist has been offering mental health first aid-like classes to staff this year, but also our BCBA is willing to open up an RBT training program. And the training programs are typically 40 hours a piece. And she's already started to actually put that together. And we're looking forward to her actually implementing that sometime in the near future. This would only be for either people voluntarily deciding to participate in it. It would not actually give them an RBT position. But if an RBT position opened up in the district, it would allow staff that have the training to actually apply for it. And the third thing is, because we do not have a CPAC, we are looking, or we do an alternative to having CPAC meetings, and that means at least 3 meetings a year where we provide training. And we're doing that through the Federation. We're doing that virtually, and the next training is coming up in January on the 20th from 7 o'clock to 9 p.m. And we will be sending out individual notices to parents once we actually have the Zoom link for that training.
Great. With the changes with the STAR program, do you anticipate serving a broader number of students?
I think more specific, those students that have academic and behavioral issues, possibly need a behavior plan, have not made progress academically or behaviorally in their current settings. So it's going to look like on paper a significantly separate program, but the philosophy is going to be it's a partial pull-out program. If we have a student that needs a full-day program, we'll have that in place, but the goal is to always get them out and reintegrate them back into the general ed setting. So we want to look at a point where we can fade services when the student starts to make progress.
Is the goal then to have this new program service our own students, or would we be looking to bring students in under a tuition situation?
You know, we've talked about that over the last year and a half or so. I'd like to be able to do that. Right now, I think we need a good foundation to work from before we start to talk about tuitioning kids in from out of district.
So I guess I'm assuming that we continue to look at the cost benefit of that class. Like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of benefits to that classroom, and historically, it's been a huge cost savings to the district because the students that were served in the STAR room would likely have needed services that would have been far more costly than running that
Sure.
program. And so I'm assuming this will continue to
Yes.
be that kind of cost savings. Some other questions? Okay. So with that, we'll move on. We have a vote tonight over the district improvement plan. And so, Dr. Driscoll?
Sure. So I think you all have the updated plan. There were two big pieces of feedback from when I presented it first. The first was to change goal 2, I believe it was, or no, maybe it was goal 1, to have more concrete academic benchmarks for student growth. So I added those in there for both MCAS as well as our internal benchmarking system. And the other was to spell out the acronyms, which I tried to do at least the first time they were used.
And I think since the last draft, the goal 3, which was around professional development, just got
Yes.
spread
Yeah,
through.
that got merged into both goals 1 and 2. So the content of that goal was not eliminated, but it was placed where it made more logical sense. Professional development around academic growth is in that goal.
Can you just review quickly just what each of those goals are, just for folks that might tune in?
Sure. So the first goal is around academic growth, and so I'll just read the goal, the overarching goal. Student outcomes on MCAS or other state assessments. I added that piece in because, as you know, MCAS is no longer a graduation requirement, and there is some discussion at the state level around what kind of assessments may replace MCAS, if any. So MCAS or other state assessment and district benchmark assessments will demonstrate student learning, with 75% of students meeting or exceeding expectations on MCAS by 2028, and 75% of students demonstrating growth on benchmark assessments. This will be achieved through rigorous academic programming being offered to all Hatfield Public School students. That's the first goal, and the initiatives can be found underneath it. And the second goal is to increase the feelings of belonging and positive school culture across all Hatfield Public Schools. So those are two pretty overarching goals: academic success and achievement, as well as social emotional safety, success, and sense of belonging.
The last time it came up, I had asked on goal 2 on 1C
Mhm.
that you add sports and arts and music.
You did, and you know what? I did not make it into my notes, unfortunately. But I can make that edit. I can actually make that edit right now if it's okay with the committee.
Please do. I may be misremembering this, but I thought we also had included a communications plan in here, but that might not have been on here. It might have been somewhere else. We do talk about communication updates in celebrating success.
I think we did talk about a communication plan. I remember that,
Yeah,
but
we
I
did.
don't remember where.
I know where it was. It was in my goals.
It's in your goals.
Yep.
I
Okay.
thought
Yeah.
it was in
Yeah.
both, but
Mm.
okay.
Yep.
So long as it stays in one or the other.
Can you describe what an early childhood innovation academy means?
So, Innovation Academy is a designation that a public school can get when they have. I I use this word hesitantly because it's charged, but like a certain specific kind of charter. So not quite a charter school, but a public school, traditional public school that says, hey, we want this to kind of be our focus. So and it can take a few different ways. They can be a new school, it can be a school within a school, so like an academy within academy. And so an early childhood innovation academy may be, or innovation school may be, um, if you take the early childhood classes, K1, 2, or pre-K, K1, and say, okay, are they going to, change or shift what they do or how they do it? The schedule to really drive home what works best in those early childhood years, which may look different than the rest of the school. So they once they are in second or third grade, they might have a different schedule. But this allows more flexibility within that group in that core to make changes that they think will best serve students. So right now we don't have like, hey, this is how it will look. This is what it will be. But it can be pretty wide ranging what that designation can do. They have had schools that have changed the schedule to extend the school day. They have had schools that want to kind of do a dual language immersion program. They have had schools that want to do it, become a project, a specific project-based learning kind of academy in school that have done things like that. So basically, the idea, it's a state. It comes from the state of Massachusetts, and it came in response to kind of the rise of charter schools as a way that local LEAs could focus what they do or change how they do or have more flexibility with how they ran to be able to kind of compete.
Do you have an idea or a theme of how you would want it to look in our school, or did the early childhood team here have an idea of how they
So
would
I
want to do it?
think that's where this is a 3-year plan. So I think the first step would be to say, okay, are there things we want to really kind of dive into, really kind of focus on, and working with the stakeholders to establish that first. But it could be a place that we kind of, we're small and nimble enough that we can, it could be a change that we could make relatively quickly compared to some larger districts that would allow us to kind of make a name for ourselves.
Is there state funding that supports these programs?
Yes-ish is the answer to that question. There has been historically. The funding that has been designated to innovation academies and those changes has sort of shifted in recent years to be designated more for innovation pathways, which we've talked about with the committee. But there's always grants that come up to do it. I think the biggest kind of thing that allows a district to do is to have some flexibility within the CBA to make some changes that may not otherwise be made.
Yeah. It's one of the things that would let you open that back up. So, other questions before we take a vote on this?
I have two.
Yeah.
So on goal 2, number 5, where it says outreach to accepted students, would we want to say accepted students and their families or in families? Because we're trying to
Sure.
build community with their family as well.
Hmm.
And in number 6, A, we talked a bit about this last time about restorative justice and how some people just don't like that phrase. Do we have to call it that? Can we call it restorative practice?
We could call it
Because-
restorative practices, which includes restorative justice.
Yeah, I mean, I think justice just implies, I don't know, more judgment and more.
Yeah. Practice
It's more of a
is,
practice
yeah.
of what we're trying to
and
do.
practice is
than-
more inclusive. I mean,
Yeah.
it includes that part for sure, but it also includes, the setting the community up to have those norms.
But I think that sounds more collaborative
Mhm.
by calling it practice rather than justice.
Sure.
We changed it on the fly right there. Other comments? Is that both of yours?
That was the 2 things I had, yep. Plus the sports, arts, and music.
I'm appreciative to see that we're getting some measurements in there. Do we feel like in goal number 1, do we feel like 75% is a stretch, is easy, is not like,
It's a stretch. I would absolutely say it's a stretch. We've seen our recent MCAS scores; they haven't been there, and I think that if we can get to that point, that will be a huge success for us. It's going to take work to do it. I think it's possible that we can attain it. Again, this is a 3-year goal, so it's we might not get there year 1. We're hopeful that we'll make progress over several years to get there.
I have to say, I'm particularly keen on 75% of students demonstrating growth, because that means students that are doing good are also getting
Mhm.
pushed to do
Mhm.
better. So it's everybody moving up. It's not just
Yeah.
like, let's get everybody to over the threshold.
And historically, we've seen that kind of merge to the middle too over the last
Mhm.
several years. Is doing a pretty good job of getting students to that proficient level, or at least some growth level, but falling behind some districts in that pushing from meets to exceeds expectations.
It's great. Is that going to be easy to measure?
Yes, on the internal ones, it will be easier to
Okay.
measure than it will necessarily be on MCAS.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can track individual students.
Okay.
Through our method.
Does that also have, it's not called out in the sentence because in the first part of that, 75% of students meeting or exceeding expectations on MCAS by 2028. You don't say by 2028 on the other. Do you need to? Do you want to? Do you expect it to happen quicker? I mean,
Bless you. I think we can expect that to happen quicker.
okay.
The MCAS, that threshold is a set threshold, right? When we talk about students making growth, you're not necessarily saying a student who may be well below benchmark is going to be exceeding expectations by the end of the year. But if they go from well below benchmark to approaching expectations, that's growth. So they may not make that growth all the way, to that 75% of students who are meeting or exceeding expectations, but they're still making growth. And so that, I think that's a place that we can expect to see results sooner than necessarily on the MCAS. And quite frankly, it's more applicable to our practice. When you do that several times throughout the, or 3 times throughout the year, you get a better dipstick measure of, okay, here's what's working with my class with the kids that I have in front of me. When you get MCAS results, you get results from last year's students. So it really doesn't help you to change for the students who were in front of you, because it's not those students.
Anything else? Is the committee comfortable taking a vote on this tonight?
Would be.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the district improvement plan for 2025 through 2028 with the amendments made.
They're there.
They're there, yes. So as now presented.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Great. Thank you, administrative team, for all the work on this one. It was nice to have you guys lead that. And we'll move on to the previously highlighted, much anticipated school finance update.
Okay. So school finance met last week remotely to continue our work on the FY27 budget. Just a recap of where we are and how we got to where we are in kind of our planning for next year. For this year, for our current fiscal year, basically all of the new hires came in at higher steps than anticipated. So they came in at higher salary ranges than we had budgeted for. We had more out-of-district placements, and our out-of-district placements that we already had came in at higher than expected tuition costs. So our current year budget came in over $400,000 over budget than we had planned on. And we were able to cover that using the majority of what was left in our school choice reserve fund. So it was great that we didn't have to go back to town to ask for additional funds to get through that. But the downside is we will have at the end of the year about $200,000 left in that reserve fund. So it's very much depleted at this point, or it will be at the end of June. So looking forward toward next year, we're projecting having about $630,000 in school choice revenue. That reflects the number of school choice students that we have and budgeting at a lower rate than we had historically. Previous years, we had gotten up to about an average of $7,000 or so, a little over $7,000 or so per student. So you get $5,000 per student, but then students with services, you bill for all those services. So if you divide that by all the students, it worked out to be over 7,000, or give or take. And then the town of Hatfield broadly is facing financial constraints. Every town in the area pretty much is facing significant insurance costs because we all use the same group. The town had a miscalculation of its tax levy limits for this year. So we just had a town meeting last week to rectify that for the current year, but that does set the FY27 budget for the whole town a little bit behind. And we were told to anticipate planning on a level funded budget for Hatfield Public Schools for next year. So on top of that, we're also anticipating significant special ed costs to go up again. We're budgeting now for 9 out-of-district placements next year, with a tuition cost of about $810,000 and $220,000 in transportation for those students. Those numbers are basically our current numbers plus 5%, plus 1 additional student. And we don't know for sure what the numbers will come in at for tuition and transportation. 5% is Dr. Driscoll's best guess. It could be higher than that, and we'll just have to cross that bridge next year if and when that happens. On the upside, we'll have increased circuit breaker funds available to us. Just circuit breaker is we get money back from the state for any high cost student over about $53,000. You get 3/4 of the amount over that back. So we don't have that full number calculated yet, but we are expecting that to be significantly higher next year than it was this year. So that will help. Other things is just rising costs. Utilities are rising for everybody, so we expect utility costs for the schools to be up, even though we have the solar roof at the high school. We have put on the capital plan the idea of having a solar roof project at the elementary school in the future. It's on the map as a way to try to cut back on utility expenses in the future. Our staff will be getting a 2.7% COLA plus lane and step changes next year. Our bus contract goes up by 6%. So all told, we have a budget gap of between $400,000 and $600,000 if we were to try to meet current services, if we try to have level services for this year.
Can I just clarify that's level services by the same means we're doing it today?
Yes.
They're services I think is a little like I get it, but I sometimes think sometimes you can provide the same services with a different staffing arrangement. Like there's tweaks.
If we
It's-
maintain status quo,
Thank you.
it would
Just to
yeah.
lawyer that a little bit.
to maintain status quo would be about $400,000 to $600,000 more than we expect to have. So in order to meet that budget gap, we're anticipating staff reductions of up to 7 full-time equivalents spread out across the district. The impact will be felt a bit at both schools. Part of this will be, or the majority of it is going to be just done through right sizing, looking at opportunities where we have chances for consolidation, and we'll have more details on that at upcoming meetings. Any questions or comments or thoughts?
I mean, I think anyone sitting here knows this is not the news we want to bring, but it is the reality of where we are. Rising costs and fewer dollars.
Yep.
And 75 to 80% of our cost of our district is in staffing.
Just one thing I'd like to add to it, and to echo, this is not a conversation anyone wants to have, but it's a conversation that virtually every district that I've spoken with across the Commonwealth is having. Recently, we were asked, every district was asked to comment during public hearing around Chapter 70 adequacies of the Chapter 70 funding formula. And school districts across the state, whether they were rural, whether they were urban, whether they were suburban, were all kind of singing the same song that really, and it was proportionally similar all throughout. So larger districts looking at massive deficits into the millions of dollars, smaller districts looking at smaller deficits but proportionally similar sized. And one very common theme was the kind of astronomical increases around special ed, specifically out of district placements, and transportation, which is really crippling many districts. And so there is some, not some. There's a lot of interest right now in looking at what the adequacies of that formula are, how it's calculated, how school funding is calculated across the state. I'm not holding my breath that those hearings are going to change anything, but at least those conversations seem to have more traction than I mean that conversation's been happening for a decade or more, but at least they seem to have more traction and more urgency than they have in the past.
And when everyone's facing costs that increase, at historically above average rates, and Chapter 70 is not going up at a commensurate rate, we're facing increasing costs of 6, 7, 8%. Insurance is going up, it went up 20% this year, or 40% this year, something like that. They need to make an adjustment in the calculation and adjust the state's priorities.
True. In the way that it is that schools and municipalities fund their schools really has, the general consensus from those hearings is that it's pretty far outdated, and really hasn't kept up with the needs of the students.
The other thing I have to say, like when I talk with state reps and state senators, is making sure that circuit breaker funds for special ed gets fully funded, because that hasn't always been fully funded. And as it is, it's not everything, right? It's after $52,000, hey, we'll give you 75% of what you spent. But when that isn't even fully funded, and our tuition costs have doubled, so it's not a 6 or 7%, it's 100% increase. So we went from sort of like 200,000 to 400,000, and then we're looking next year at over 800,000. So it's massive shift, which is really hard to absorb without impacting every student, right? And that's, again, that's not specific, like that's not unique to us. But we don't have a lot of wiggle room to manage that.
And even beyond, circuit breaker covers the students with extraordinary costs. But then there's the students kind of in the in between.
Yep.
So you have the students who have, whatever the average cost per pupil is, up to that 52,000. You have a student with a dedicated paraprofessional, and they get, that's an extra.
That's never gonna hit.
It's
the
never going to
load.
hit that, but it's going to
Yeah.
hit our budget. We have like 18 ESPs on staff, and it's going to cost us. We have to pay the full amount for that.
And those aren't costs that are going away.
No, but just more and more students require dedicated support.
I will say, just for the record too, that circuit breaker is one way that we recoup some of those costs, and school choice claiming is another way. So for school choice students who may require either out of district placements or dedicated paraprofessionals or services, we can claim those services back, and the sending district pays for those services. So, for example, if a student who is a school choice student, not from Hatfield, had on a plan that they received that they needed a dedicated paraprofessional, we could claim the cost of that salary back to the sending district
At 100%.
at 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's 100%, not the 50 or 75% after 50,000.
And conversely, does that happen to us, that we have
Yes.
students
Yep.
that have gone to another district that now require
Yes.
different needs, and we have to cover that?
Uh,
Is that built into these?
yes, but
here?
that
Is this
comes
where we
through the
see?
chapter 70.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't hit
It
the
doesn't hit
budget
our
planning.
budget.
Okay.
But
It hits
Yeah.
town finances.
I know that transportation, 220 roughly, is this what we're contracting out for
yes.
sped transportation? It's
Yes.
not using our drivers and our vans.
No,
That's what we're paying.
that's what we're
If
paying
we
for.
had, I know this is impossible. If we had more drivers, would it work for us to do more of our transportation or not? Because we don't have the vans.
We have one more van that we could use. So the potential is there possibly
One.
if we could do for one of those routes.
And it wouldn't save us that much.
I mean, it would save a little bit. Yep.
And how aggressively could we talk with other districts about, carpooling and combining routes with another district?
We
That's something we already do, especially with anybody who's school choice. If we're looking at our district placements, we always offer the transportation back to that district and ask, do you have an existing route that's also going to the same school? I have not found one yet, not that we have a high number, but it is something that we've built into our routines when we're looking at transportation.
We've been reviewing that in school finance as well
Yeah.
to look and see, like, is there anything here? Not that we doubted,
Right.
but we're like, because the warrants come through and you look at the cost and you're like, holy cow, there must be some way we can save here. We have at least one route that actually the transportation is higher than the tuition.
Wow.
Nice.
I'm just making sure everybody shares my discomfort and upset over that.
Just for a little fun down the transportation road, the rates per student are anywhere between $200 to $300 per day per student.
Yes.
Oh,
I utter obscenities when I pass those vehicles. Just, it feels like they're price gouging schools.
But if we could hire a van driver,
Well,
we could maybe cover one route.
that's the thing.
Right.
It's because it's
you're going
different kids
different-
going to different schools, starting in different places, and
Right. Can't really combine them.
maybe next year there are 2 students that could share.
I mean, I know you guys are talking about this. I'm
Yeah.
just,
No. It's the question we are all,
what skills would be needed for a van driver?
7G license.
I know.
But I mean, that's to operate a van, but because they're transporting special needs students, is
Mhm.
there any requirement about how they are with the students or?
That's a great question.
Yeah, there are two
Driver's
different
license.
things. We're
Seriously.
required to give kind of a breakdown of what the students' needs are
Mhm.
in case something comes up during the route. But there is also, I believe it's a 2-day training that staff have to go through. I believe it's every couple of years. Usually it's, I believe there is training in Holyoke, but some of the programs are actually offered much further east from us.
And if we were to hire a van driver, we would pay for that training.
Yes, we do that now with our in-district.
I'm just going to try to spread the word to get a van driver,
Van
but
driver.
I'm going to get asked,
Would
you
like-
know.
How about a half dozen van drivers?
Well,
This is when I leave the school committee. I was teasing Connor today, like, this might be my new startup business. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Could do it for half the price.
Yeah.
Nutty. So, okay, we beat that to death, I know, but
yeah, well, thank you for that important update and the diligence you do on our budget. To you, and Adam and Connor.
I would say we're happy to do it, but it's not a happy job
no,
right
it's
now.
not a happy job.
I have a question about the reduction conversation. Is this happening in with principals, or is this happening on like reorganizing classes and happening with us, or is this conversation strictly administration decisions?
You want to start that?
Yeah, so we've been having conversations recently about what that might look like, and there are a couple different options that it that it could take, a couple different ways that it could look. We're not ready to share that yet because it involves obviously personnel, and we want to have
Yeah,
those
of course.
conversations with them first. But there, primarily that's an administrative decision, but it's something that we take input from, for sure, from the committee and from the community
The part that we're,
and from the HTA.
yes, and the part that ultimately we will approve is the budget for it,
Mhm.
right? So at some point, it's like, okay, here's the budget you're going to have to live within. And if that is 2 reductions or if that's 4 reductions, like whatever that number is, we're gonna assign it by a dollar value. But we're starting with the staff we have and the costs we know from that. And the collective bargaining agreement with the HTA is very specific about sort of what that process looks like. So that takes all of that out of the equation. So at some point, it's a number to the budget, and the
Oh.
part that we get is the budget.
I
So
understand.
and that, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna move this.
I have a,
Sure.
a follow-up
Yeah.
question. Timing for this. Does budget come first for us,
Yes.
then your decision? By when do these decisions have to be made?
Ultimately, the budget decision has to be made. We're going to look at that probably for February. The specifics, because it's an administrative
Mhm.
decision, ultimately, I assume it's when you're hiring contracts, like, but you would know before the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah. We ideally we'll start those conversations with staff probably with January, February, as we look at as the budget takes
Yeah.
more shape.
Just to make sure that people have time.
Yeah, yeah. This
to-
isn't something we're gonna do around Memorial Day. It will be way more heads up if we need to.
Thank you.
That's not to say it might not shift, because if someone retired, that would alter the finances, which would alter, like, just things would change. So if there are
Yeah,
natural shifts.
yeah, and as we do more budgeting work, we'll have a much clearer picture too of exactly what that gap is going to look like that we have to make up.
Thank you.
Sure. So the next thing up, and it's slightly related to all of this, we need to have a vote tonight whether we're going to open school choice. I would really like to decide whether we're opening. We don't need to name a number. We do next month. But this month, we need to take a vote on whether we're going to open school choice. And I would really like to make it specific to, we're going to open it to a minimum of 1 student for whichever following grades, which would open up pulling in those applications. We wouldn't have to decide this minute how many students by grade. So, but we would need, if it was not going to be open at all, we need to know that before parents are putting in applications, because we wouldn't take applications for that grade. Does that make sense? So based on school finance review and administration review, there is a sort of general recommendation for the committee to take a look at that is grade by grade for next year. I will turn that over unless you don't want to, and I'll do it.
No, I'm happy to talk to it. So if you look at the sheet that you have, it's on the right-hand side, all the way to the right. That column, it says choice recommendations. These are the administrative recommendations with numbers that we could add to existing classes. That would keep us kind of within our means for next year.
So as I read this, there is currently only one grade that you would not recommend adding?
Yes, with the asterisk that I think we could, we could comfortably add at least one student
So
to
we
that
could
one. So we could open it.
to see
Yeah.
if there were.
I see that middle school has a higher grade size limit
Mhm.
than the high school.
Yeah.
What's the thinking on that? Like, if we're having 30-something kids potentially
Yep.
in a middle school grade, why wouldn't we want to have 30-something kids in the high school grades?
So the couple reasons. First is that if we are going to have reductions that hit at Smith Academy, it may require that we have more limitations at that level, and we know that we lose students from 8th to 9th grade. We historically know that we can count on a certain number of students going to either Smith Voc or choicing out. So if we limit it to that same number, say 25 is the number here for 9th through 12th grade classes. If we limited that to 25 at the middle school level, and we had those 8 or 9 kids leave, then that would you'd be starting even lower. So this number allows us to kind of grow within our means, and also would still allow for some more vibrant offerings. And by preserving the size of the middle school, or the goal size of the middle school, it can help preserve at least somewhat larger classes in the high school.
I know that we don't have to set a specific number besides at least one
Mhm.
tonight, but I am just wondering what kind of conversations are happening with particularly the 5th grade families and the 8th grade families, to get an idea of anyone who's planning to go elsewhere for the next year.
Yeah, so typically around this time of year, we start to have those conversations. We start to bring students. What we've started to do is bring students up so that they can see what Smith Academy is like. They come up for a tour. They see the school. They see what we offer, and we do that both in 5th grade and in 8th grade. We started doing. It seems a little silly, but it's actually not. We are required legally. We're required to have Smith Voc come in to do a presentation about what they offer. And we started doing something similar. Even though these kids are with us, they are at Smith Academy every single day. They're not immersed in the high school experience. They are, by design, the middle school is separate largely from the high school. So to have high school students go in and kind of showcase what they do, to talk about what the experience has been like for them, the support that they've gotten for student from faculty, and the classes they've been able to take that are of high interest. If you look at this year, for example, last year was the year, I think the second year that we've really done that. And when they know that what we have to offer, we saw a large number of students choose to stay, which was great.
Which, when we look at enrollment, Smith Academy is like Smith Academy is up, not
Right.
because the sixth graders are there. It's
No,
because
independently up.
independently up because fewer kids
And,
chose to go.
and I will say, with the school choice policy that we have for mid-year admissions, we have on the lower left side, you can see the applicants that we have. If those applicants all do choose to come to the district, that would put us either at or slightly above where we were last year for enrollment. So we could see that we could see that shift. I mean, not a groundswell shift, but I mean,
We were just so right
yeah,
on
we
the
were like
brink.
right at the cusp that we'll just be on the other side of the cusp, I guess.
Yeah, for the district as a whole.
It sounds like you are doing a good job sharing with the students
Mhm.
what the high school has to offer. How is that getting sent to the parents?
I think that's a place that we have to improve on this year. So in the past, we've sent that home with kind of the course catalog, and we've done that through kind of new student orientation and open houses that we have. Um, but I think we could do a better job for students because again, a lot of students who are at Smith Academy already, they're not, if they're in middle school, they're not going to come to that. That's already their school. So we can definitely do a better job of getting that kind of that literature and that information out to parents about here's what your experience could be like. Here's what we have to offer.
Like a email brochure of
Yeah, some
here's what you can look forward to.
email brochure or like it's old school, I guess, but I'm a big fan of actual like, hey, here's
It's actually very
Yeah.
nice in some ways. And I think, extending that to the fifth grade families as well. Like the Smith
Mhm.
Academy Middle School really is great. Like it
Mhm.
really has a lot to offer our students, I think. And, in my short, just like personal experience, attending some of the Smith Academy events and things like that, the energy is very good
Yeah.
at Smith Academy right now. Band concert was excellent. Booster Club did a 5K. It was excellent. All these other things. I think the energy is very good. So if we can, help promote that,
And the middle school team is very solid.
Mhm.
excellent. It's an excellent team. So like to the fifth grade families and then also to the, current eighth grade families.
But
That would be great?
are we getting that out to like the fifth grade families now? Because
It's
people are,
time.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
time
yeah.
for
So
people.
shortly into the new year. Yep, that's
And
when
maybe
we'll be
not
getting-
just one hit. It may
Yep.
need to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
a sort of
Yeah.
an ongoing. And, to the elementary's credit, the fifth grade team is like stars of communication to
Mhm.
family. Like there's a great asset to leverage because they do such a good job already. So, would you be interested in amending
Yeah.
that to one
Yep.
for now?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think one would be,
It wouldn't tip the
Harmful
scales if
at
it went
all,
to
Put
right.
us
26.
over, right.
So with that, is there a motion to open school choice with a minimum of one per grade? Obviously, the recommendation when we come back, we'll fine tune that when we go grade by grade. But just to get it open would be the other.
so I'll make a motion that we participate in school choice and have at least one slot open for each grade in the 25, 26, no, 26, 27.
27.
I know.
I know.
Yikes. 26, 27 school year. Oh,
I will second that.
Okay. Is there any additional conversation about that?
This is the best presentation of the numbers yet. So
yes, it was very
honestly,
helpful. Keep it
appreciation for the clarity.
And really happy to see that at least 5 new students are starting in January.
Oh,
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
Applicants.
Potentially.
Well, it looks like the first 3,
And then two
And then
in
the-
pre-K.
yeah, and 2 in pre-K. Those look like definites, no?
Yes. Yeah. There's at least 3.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any additional
So school choice has been great for our school community. It's been a huge benefit for a long time, and it still is. I'm worried, I continue to be worried about sustainability at the secondary level. And I'm worried about a few things. I'm worried about accepting more choice students and not knowing what their future might be within Hatfield Public Schools. There's more. I know there's been 2 letters to the editor and Gazette talking about looking into regional options, but the conversation in the town is greater than those 2 individuals. It's greater than the conversation on the Facebook parents page. It's conversations that happen now, like in the preschool line in the morning, or after school at events. More and more families are getting more and more concerned about sustainability. I don't think I don't get the vibe that any of us 5 love the idea of pursuing regionalization. But I'm at a moment personally where I feel like it's just the spot where we are. I don't love it. It doesn't make me feel good. But the numbers have us at Smith Academy in 7 through 12. There's currently 72 local students, which is pretty much exactly 1/3 of what it was when I graduated in 2000. The school age population in the last 23 years is down about 42%. So we've lost about 2/3 of our local students when we've lost 42% of eligible. We're doing a poor job at retention of that group. We might be doing a better job at retaining than other towns are, which is a conversation we have a lot. All schools are struggling because there's fewer students and then there's more options. There's more schools. There's charter schools, vocational schools are rising again. So we're all in that struggling moment. I have a bunch of concerns about continuing to accept school choice students into our system when I don't know what we can guarantee them 2, 3, or 5 years down the road. I worry that if we say, come to Hatfield, it's a great place, and Dr. Driscoll, you provide a great education at Smith Academy, and the dream has always been it would be there for my kids. We talk about your course catalog and your work with VSU. It's amazing what you've done, and it's a testament to what any school can do, let alone a really small school. But I worry that it's going to feel a bit like bait and switch. Come to Hatfield, come to Smith Academy, and then in a couple years, the town has decided to go a different track. So it makes me uncomfortable to continue to go deeper into the system when I don't know what the future is going to be like. And when we talk about regionalization, it's a multi-year process to get there. So that might make you feel like, okay, well, we have time to sort this out. But then there's always the option, if finances hit a certain point, or if the town hits a certain point, where we're kind of forced into an intermediate decision, where we look for a tuition partner. So if we reached out to Northampton or Frontier or Hadley and to see if any of them have capacity, and we know if you look at DESI's website, physically they all have capacity to absorb our students because their enrollment is all down as well. Everyone's in this boat. So it's, do they have the staff capacity and the will to partner with us? If we end up in a tuition agreement, what we usually have with a school choice student as being a $5,000 net positive to our district, when we get an agreement with a different district to send our students there via tuition, if it's not a regional agreement, we're on the hook for the difference. So what was a $5,000 net positive becomes a negative over $20,000 net negative to the district, should that student choose to go to that district. And it's reasonable to expect that a number of our school choice students wouldn't elect to do that. They came here to choose Hatfield, choose small. If we end up in a different system, they may just opt back to their hometown or to a different district. It's a variable that we can't know until we get there, but it's not an insignificant variable. And I worry about it making a huge negative impact on our finances in the next 2 to 5 years while the town works on sorting out what its longer term future will look like. I also have some concerns about putting further strain on our already stretched student services program. Dr. S, you've done a great job in the past year trying to sort it out because it was a struggle, and we've added additional staff, additional support, but we still have a high number of students with plans, with a high number of students who need support down there. And I know that the majority of school choice students, just statistically, the number of school choice students who come in with plans is a lower percentage than our local students. So people tend to, out in the community, they tend to pick on the choice students who cause an uproar in a classroom. But it's a lesser rate. But I worry about just rolling the dice and getting one more that makes things more difficult for you to manage, for the staff to manage, for the teachers to manage. I think we also have an opportunity to focus on fixing some of the things that have been plaguing the elementary school by going a little bit smaller. It's already pretty small, but our results at the school, our MCAS results in particular, haven't been great. I was at town meeting last year, and someone in town that I know, my mom's generation, kind of pulled me aside and she said, "What is going on with our scores? They're not what we expect of Hatfield." And I tried to say, like, everybody's down, everybody's struggling, everybody's scores have fallen behind, whether it's something that's going on culturally, whether it's still the COVID blip. But the answer felt insufficient for me to give, and she took it as an insufficient answer, and it was fair. The, the expectation has always been higher, and we're struggling to meet the town's expectations. So by focusing on making sure we're doing right by our local community before we continue to welcome additional students in, I think would be a benefit for our residents here. My last concern is adding if we open up for one student in each class, we have classes that are on the bubble of, like, they could maybe be consolidated to one classroom down the road. And we're working on getting through FY27's budget. We don't know what FY28's budget is going to look like. We don't know what the additional 2.5% of revenue in town will look like, how much will be allocated to the schools. We don't know what our choice revenue for next year will be like for sure. So if we end up in a situation, because we're talking about reductions for next year at both schools. When you talk about reductions at the elementary school, there will be classes that can get consolidated down to one. There's other classes that maybe could, if you look at the numbers, but if we add one more, it makes that harder. And I worry that it's going to become a burden that we place on our students when our budget gets tighter 2 or 3 years down the road, that we're stuck, because when we hit financial cliffs, when we hit a wall, the only place we can reasonably cut is staff. That's where 80% of our budget is. And we're cutting staff, we're impacting students. So I don't want to put our students at the elementary school in a situation where their homeroom class will be tighter and more difficult than it needs to be. And then there's another feel. I was talking with a gentleman this weekend, and one of the worries is that there's only so many cuts we can make at Smith Academy before it kind of falls apart. We're making cuts for next year, and you will do your best to make sure that they're not impactful as far as the programs we offer, that we can still offer our APs and our concurrent enrollment. But there's still going to be cuts. And then after that, if our budget is tight for another year, there's not much left there to cut. And I worry that we end up forcing cuts on the elementary school and burdening our younger students in order to keep Smith Academy going. Sorry, I dislike this conversation, but that's the bulk of my concerns. So for that, I'm going to vote no on school choice. And it's not that I don't think it's a valuable program, that it hasn't been great for our schools, but I'm very concerned about what the next 2 to 5 years are going to look like. I think we've had time and opportunity to be more proactive in our planning for the next several years. We're looking at regional or tuition options. We haven't done that. I think there's a call in the town to do it. we should have been more proactive about it. Now we need to react and embrace it and just see what the town wants, what the town is willing to do, and what's best for our students. So for that, I'm going to vote no on this. I'm sorry, because I know that's going to be impactful to our student population, to our budget. There's a lot of downstream negative effects from opting out of choice. But that's just where I am at the moment.
Could you remind us again when we take the vote for how many in each grade?
We need to have that vote before the 15th of February.
Okay.
So my assumption is we would probably would do that in January meeting.
And in January, will you have a,
Better sense of what the budget is.
yeah, and what staffing might look like, what grade options there might be?
And I know how hard that was. There's not an easy path either way. Because to say no to turning down additional dollars is going to hit everywhere too. So I think the one thing I would revise slightly is I think we have looked at some options. We haven't been incredibly transparent about what some of those things might look like. But I think understanding what tuition costs might look like elsewhere, I think there is some understanding of that. It's just the minute we start that ball rolling, it will take a life of its own. And I think when we put that conversation on the table, we owe the community as much information as we can bring them so that it is a robust conversation with some answers and at least a good articulation of the questions that need answered. And I do believe that conversation is started and happening. It's not here today, but we need to make a decision. Like, we do need to decide whether we're taking kids or not, because we need to open that up if we're going to. Because what we don't want to do is delay the conversation to the point that we don't get applications after we decide we want them. Because we've been there. We did that once, and we didn't have a good year of school choice recruitment because we waited. The year we had the override, we waited because we didn't want to open up classes that we might have to cut. And so we postponed our school choice decision, which pushed back applications, and families went elsewhere because they knew whether they were going to get in or not at a neighboring district earlier than we even had them come in. So I still am looking to make this vote tonight, not on the specific numbers, but to have it. And this will open the door to more conversation about how many. If we vote yes, it will open the conversation to the next time we bring it up to how many per grade. So as we look at the numbers, the only two places where it's sort of right on the bubble, where that was down to something very low, it's the difference where there's a potential of 22 kids going to 23 kids in a classroom of older elementary school kids. That didn't, for me, that doesn't feel like a big stretch. 23 kids in a room that all are already reading is sort of a different place. And there are a few grades on here where the recommendations are really small because the numbers are already low and we know we have to make some reductions. And then the only other place was, where we might bump a high school class up to 28 kids. So
These recommendations were they taken into consideration the downsizing of 7 staff members?
you.
Yeah, I think the difference this year compared to previous years is we have in the past we have kind of intentionally tried to preserve the 2 classes per grade level at the elementary school and the equivalent at Smith Academy up through in order to kind of try to preserve both the vibrancy of offerings but also the opportunity to grow within those classes. Um, and it has not necessarily paid off the way that we would have liked in terms of filling all of those slots, which is ideally what we would like. When we open those school choice slots, we want to fill them. And so this year is sort of a reckoning with that, a bit of a right sizing when it comes to some of those smaller classes. Within those smaller classes, even when we go down, if we in some cases, if we were to go down to one class per grade level at the elementary school or the equivalent of that at the high school, there are still some places that we have the opportunity to grow within that. Maybe not grow to the level of two full classes, but to round and fill out one full class. So that's a class that would exist anyway. So having that opportunity to bring those numbers up to a quote unquote full class would not add an additional staffing, I guess. Though to your point, Adam, it could open the door for additional services that may be required.
Yeah.
For sure.
When you say number to the full size, like the small classes, what is to you, what is a small class that you want to add to? Like, is it the class that has 10 or 20?
Yeah, I mean,
or,
so for example, if you look in the column that's second to the right there, the grade size limit, I
Mhm.
think that's kind of the ideal of, okay, this is a good kind of larger class size for the whole grade level. So, for example, if we look at first grade and we say we want to cap it at 18, that's a relatively
It's doable, yeah.
it's
But
doable, but it's
when
not a
you're looking at
massive thing.
36,
Well, there'd
That
be 2
that would
sections.
that would be
that
too
would
fast.
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm just
because-
saying, if we wanted to make that, like at 25, that means that could be done in one class.
Correct.
And if let's say we get 5 more students, that makes it 30. That does make it unmanageable for a teacher to teach one teacher to do that class. And you still have to divide that into, that means 15 and 15.
It would depend on the class and the age. I don't think that would be a given.
Not for second grade and
Oh,
third.
no. I
I'm
think the
talking-
assumption when you see a 36 and it's
Yeah.
at the elementary school, that's going to be 2 classrooms of kids.
Right.
2 groups of
Yeah,
18.
that's Adam's point, though. If you make it 2 classes, you're
So those classes where you see those larger numbers,
yeah.
those were based on the makeup within the classes, as well as the current size. Those are areas where we think it would make sense to still have two
Really.
There were
classrooms.
already enough kids there
Yeah.
to keep 2 going.
Like, no, they're not, because when you're looking at 4th grade, there's 24 kids in that class?
Sometimes it's more than the number.
But it's
Right.
right. So, but I think the conversation was that particular, when it was not all the way up to the number that would be the grade size limit, that the makeup of that group had room to be 2 groups or had reason to be 2 groups.
But when we're looking at money, making those classes, regardless if that group needs more, it doesn't matter. 25 kids is a classroom, one classroom. It's not two classrooms of kids. At this point, we do have that. We have 10 to 12 kids in one class each, two teachers, full salary paid to teach each one of these classes, right? Let's say fourth
Mm.
grade or second grade.
They're not 10, but they're small, yes. So we also have the choice to come back and limit how many we want to take in any of those grades. But if we don't look, we won't get.
I understand. I'm just trying to bring a different perspective in what it is that we would like to happen versus what actually is going to happen. And still having, let's say, more than 10, 12, let's say 12 kids in one class, which is what my kids' class is in fourth grade, it's very limiting to those kids too. They don't have as many opportunity to grow. I know they go from class to class and there's more, they do something as a group, but couldn't they do it as a group in the first place?
They wouldn't have been able to do the departmentalization the way they're doing it now if it
Mhm.
was just one teacher. That teacher they would be a self-contained group. They wouldn't be switching classes.
Yeah.
But
But that teacher knows like that teacher is the same, like the teacher should be able to teach the same things, either math and social studies.
Although I
In
mean,
elementary school, yes.
aren't we looking for as much individualized support as we can offer? I mean, I, yes, a teacher can keep discipline over 24 kids, but I don't know that they're getting the same education if they're all in one room and the
24
needs
kids?
are diverse. And I'm just taking that one because it's on the relatively low side. But
Yeah.
I also don't think that, first of all, the ask tonight is just to open at least one seat or not.
correct.
But also, we're not saying we automatically have to make as many, reduce down as many classrooms as possible. There are,
Right.
looking at the grade size limits proposed here, we have some options already on the table. It doesn't have to be like every single one, let's make every class as big as we want, because I think we will lose things. I mean, like in a single classroom, like you were saying, like,
And in the cases, so the proposal that I think will continue forward from administration, I'm trying to speak for you, but is that there are going to be a couple of grades based on the population. And that's like the population in Hatfield and probably the population of Western Mass. People had fewer babies during COVID. So now they're kindergartners. There's not as many of them. And so we're going to have to right size for some of that regardless. To Becca's point, we don't necessarily have to make every class
Right.
as big as we want, as big as we can fit them in the room. It's a
Yes.
good conversation to have tonight. We don't have to vote on everything, but we do need to have the one vote. And this conversation's coming back when we have the how many per grade. Like, this is not a one and done
When we will
vote tonight.
talk about it
We're
in more
going to
detail.
have to continue this conversation.
There's also not a one thing fits all. It wouldn't be that every grade is down to one classroom, or there's options and variables. And this vote, I feel, is just keeping some options open for discussion and potential.
But without necessarily tipping anything into some other
Mm.
commitment.
Yeah.
So that was trying to thread the needle tonight a little bit. So, other thoughts? So, we have a motion and a second to open up school choice with a minimum of one seat per grade. We've had a conversation. So, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
So, we'll be back.
Adam, I respect your views, and I thank you for bringing them forward. It's important for us to have these conversations, and it's only going to get more in-depth.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Thank you for bringing it.
Yeah.
Well, policy is
Policy.
pretty boring. I was going to say, I mean, nobody wants to talk about policy
I rather
now.
enjoyed getting the policy updates today as just a breath of fresh air.
I mean,
Like,
I am going to
straightforward and
say
logical.
that, like,
I love it.
also,
This conversation,
Kathy and I
Yeah.
have like
policy sounds
really
good.
enjoyed our secret societies conversations. Just so you know, the policy committee does not support any Greek life in our schools. There will be
Have
no
there
sororities.
historically been secret societies?
I don't know, but we have a secret societies policy. So
Perhaps not in Hatfield, but elsewhere in Massachusetts.
let it be known that there shall be none. So
Secret, how would we know?
that is a question.
Yeah.
That is a question. They
Yeah,
have to be
tell them
very, very
yes.
secret. Yeah, so we actually don't have any specific policies illuminated on the agenda tonight. So these are just informational for the committee about
First
what,
reads?
yeah, about what we've been looking at. So we are still reviewing just everything related to conduct, and we're trying to be very comprehensive about that. So what you have in front of you is JICF Secret Societies, which we just did some cross-checking, did a little diligence there, made a couple wording edits, nothing major. That one feels straightforward. JICFA with an attached JICFA-E is hazing. We have not made edits to this at this time. We did do a cross-check with MASC, and we're completely in line with that. We did have some questions around some wording, so that has been sent to legal, and we're waiting. You didn't hear.
I heard back today, but
Today,
I haven't
okay.
sent it off.
Okay, yeah, so we're, the policy subcommittee is waiting just to get confirmation on that end. We also have JICFB, which is bullying prevention. We have made some clarifying edits and done our cross-check diligence. We have more questions about that. And so that one also has been sent to legal for a review. And we did get a response, but have not had another meeting to start making those edits. We do anticipate that this one is going to take a little bit more work. Dr. Driscoll is also sending it for feedback from the district SEL team. And then finally, we have JICH, which is drug and alcohol use by students. We just made some clarifying edits and did our
Don't do it.
diligence with that. Huh?
Don't do
Don't do it, yeah. Just to be
The
clear,
Nancy
Say
Reagan
no.
there will
said
also
to
be
say
no
no.
drugs with our secret societies. Yeah, so we are happy to take any comments from
I
the
love the
committee.
collection is just
We thought so
nicely
too.
themed. It's
Yeah.
We
nice
thought
story.
so too.
Just, you know, drilling through JIC policies.
Yeah. And we've got some others on the burner for January.
Yeah, we've got more, yeah.
More fun stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, only I likewise enjoyed going through these. I didn't see anything that gave me any pause whatsoever. The updates were on par with everything else. It's nice to see the consistency. I wondered in the drug and alcohol, and I didn't look up the substance. There's a substance that actually gets sold at our convenience store.
Kratom.
Yes. And I wondered if that might be something worth including.
To call out specifically.
Well, I'm not sure it currently gets regulated the same way that some of the rest of this stuff does.
Mhm, right.
The evidence looks pretty strong on
Yeah.
its detriments of use for minors.
Is it something that's legally prohibited to sell to minors, or is it?
I don't
certain
know
through-
that it is.
I just wonder, like, do we have standing to say you can't do this when there is no law saying they can't do this? You can recommend it.
Have it on school grounds, but
Yeah, I'm not saying that I want to encourage them to
we're
do
just
it.
I think
I'd-
we can bring it to subcommittee. We can
Yeah.
investigate further.
so
And I can also reach out to legal about, what the
Yeah.
what the
If that's been
limitations are. Yeah.
updated, any new substances and
I mean, I would assume that we have standing to say that. I mean, if you look at our wellness policy, it limits things.
And I'm assuming there's going to be more overarching law on that product, but
Yep.
I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, and then there will be something else.
But
IAA doesn't call it out, do they?
I don't believe
I
so.
think they do.
No, I think
So I was wondering if we could tie it in with that of
yeah, I don't believe that's part of
Right.
their
If
their
we-
substance.
deny it to our athletes, let's deny it to all the student body, but
Mm.
just a thought. Okay,
Thank you.
we will have more in January.
All right.
Thank
any,
you.
Any other? No, let's just enjoy it.
Okay, last up, we have a vote on the 26-27 school calendar, which has seen a few adjustments for the teachers.
Biggest change that you'll notice from draft one is the start date. And this was based on feedback we got from the HTA, is wanting to start a little earlier. So the 24th, 25th, and 26th of August, having those as the teacher work days. Students would start on the 27th, come for 2 days, 27th and 28th. Then they would come for 4 days the following week, the 31st through the 3rd. We would have the 4th as that sort of fourth start of the year PD day. That would tie in with a long weekend on Labor Day. And then they would come back for 4 days, the 8th through the 11th, and then their first full week would be on the 14th. That earlier start date would also coincide with an earlier end date. So without any snow days, the final day of the school year would be scheduled for the 11th, which is pretty early of June. With 5 snow days, it's likely that it would be up to the 21st. I'm still waiting to hear back from the town about what there's conflicting state versus federal reasoning around Juneteenth, if it's celebrated on that Saturday or if it's recognized on that Friday.
Okay.
So waiting to hear from the town what their plan is, and we'll kind of marry it to that. Ideally, we won't have that many snow days, so it will be a non-issue.
So it's 10 half days, which
Talking
is
to yourself.
I know,
there.
I know.
10 half days is in keeping with where we've been. I think it's got a half day before Thanksgiving. It's got a half day on the 23rd of December. So if we wanted to push it out past the 11th, those are sort of the 2 days that could, in theory, become whole days.
And there was mixed feedback from the HTA around that. There were some people that were really in favor of having full days rather than half days off on those days, and there were others that said, no, keep them half days so we get out a little earlier. It was pretty much 50-50 split.
If we have one school day, though, we're going to be coming back in on a Monday half day. So
I mean, someone might be coming in on that day. I don't know how
perhaps.
many.
The teachers would be.
Yes.
So thoughts on the calendar with the updates?
It's interesting that the teachers liked the way we've been doing it in August of having 3 days and then the students coming. But then when I saw September and I'm looking at it, and it felt like, oh, there's, 2 4-day weeks before they have a full week. And then the next week is a 4.5-day week. But when I compared this draft to the first draft, it's the same number of days
Yeah.
in September. And it
It's just where you put them.
it's just
Yeah.
where you put them. So if the teachers are pleased with it,
I kind of like the law, like having the 4th with the 7th.
yeah,
to have
that's
that long
kind of
weekend.
nice.
Last gasp of summer vacation.
That is nice. I think families will enjoy that as well.
Gives you a chance to travel and not with everyone else in the world.
Or really enjoy the 3-county fair.
Or that.
Lots of 3 county fair time.
Come to the demolition derby this year, but not
Yeah.
our bus that we had last year.
So, other thoughts?
Did we fix May 231st?
We have not yet, but I can, unless you would like to add more days to May.
Oh, there it is.
To
Yeah.
231.
Just that it's not the number of days, it's just that it's on the 31st. Big wait, too.
I think it looks,
Yeah.
it looks good, very reasonable.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the calendar?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Anything
you
with
all
the
very
format
much.
at the end.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.